Season, we have been following along with Jesus and his disciples from the point where Luke tells us that Jesus had turned his face towards Jerusalem on his way to the crucifixion and to the resurrection. And along that way with Jesus, we've encountered a number of characters. A woman bent over so far that she could not see anything but Jesus' feet, to know that Jesus was even in the area. And that we realized when we looked at this woman that we too are bent over under our brokenness and our woundedness. And we cannot see where we are going and are in need of having Jesus come and find us and initiate the healing that we need. We encountered families who were bringing their small children to Jesus and piling them in his lap. And the disciples who didn't think they were important enough, trying to forbid them. We heard Jesus rebuke them, saying that it's only when a person knows their own weakness, their own powerlessness, as a child knows powerlessness, that you can come into the presence of God. If we think it's about us and our morality, we're wrong. About God, about his love. And last week, we encountered the rich young ruler who thought he had everything morally and financially ready for him to enter into the kingdom of God. We realized that Jesus put before him the need to look at all the things he was trusting in other than in God. We continue the journey today, and we encounter with Jesus and with his disciples. We encounter a blind man. Mark identifies him as Bartimaeus, and sometimes you'll hear him called blind Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus hears that there's a hubbub, wants to know what's going on, and somebody mutters out of the corner of their mouth that it's Jesus. He's coming through town. And everyone is just so excited to see him because of all the amazing things that he can do. And blind Bartimaeus has only a moment to think. And he realizes in that split second that this is his opportunity. He's a beggar. He's at the bottom of the pile in terms of people who have influence and people who are well thought of in society. He's a nobody. And as long as he is a beggar and as long as he is blind, he is going to be a nobody. And he sees in Jesus an opportunity for him to seize back his old life. And in that split second, he jumps to his feet and he calls out, "Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus, Son of David, help me." And they tried to shut him up. You got to sit down and shut up. He's a busy man. But Bartimaeus is not put off by that because he understands that this is his one shot at healing. Jesus, Son of David, help me. So he jumps fast when he sees his opportunity. And he won't be dissuaded. He won't be put off. He will have Jesus' attention. Whether it does any good or not, he will have it. Jesus turns, hears his voice, turns, asks to have Bartimaeus brought to him. He looks at Jesus, at Bartimaeus. Jesus looks at Bartimaeus when he brings him close, and he asks what's got to be the silliest question in the history of silly questions. What is it that you would have me do for you? And maybe it's not the silliest of all questions. Because most of us don't know what it is that is wrong with us. Most of us don't know what it is that we are lacking. We just know that we are not full. We just know that we have this spiritual aching and emptiness. We just know that things are not going in our lives the way we want them to go. We just know that we are broken. And maybe it's not a silly question for Jesus to look you in the face, or me in the face, and ask the question, what is it you would have me do for you? What is your brokenness? It's an invitation to look inward and to ask the question, what is broken? Where have I gone wrong? What do I need? How do I name this hunger that I have? It's part of Bartimaeus' healing to look inward and to see, to reflect, to understand who he is at that moment in time. And the answer he gives is the obvious answer. It's, I want to see again. I want to see the sun come up. I want to remember what the word green means. I want to see as well as to touch my granddaughter's face. I want to remember what my wife looks like. I want to see again. I want to know the world that I am in again. And Jesus says, your faith has made you well. And Bartimaeus is not just restored to his sight, but he's restored in his journey. He's restored in his place in the community. He's a complete human being again. He's a functioning human being again. He's a part of things again. He can see himself. He can see others. He can make eye contact and experience that connection that doesn't have words. That's not just something that's essential and healing and powerful for new life for the individual Bartimaeus. It's not just powerful and healing for those of us sitting in this room. It's also powerful and healing for this congregation at this moment in your lives as a congregation. Jesus is, in this interim period, following all the unpleasantness of last year, and in this period of time when you're reflecting and getting ready to call a new leader to lead you into the next chapter of your lives as a congregation, you are not the same people that you were 8 or 10 years ago. You're not the same group of people that you were 8 or 10 years ago. You are not living in the same community that you lived in and ministered in 10 years ago. The Buddhists say that you can never step into the same river twice. And the same thing, because the water is always flowing by. It's always a new river. And Munster is flying by, and Dyer and Lansing and Cherville and Hammond and Highland are all flowing by, and they're not the same as they were 10 years ago. This is a moment in time for Westminster to look at itself, for you as Westminster members, as members of the Munster community in Cherville, to look at yourself. What is it, Jesus asks, that you would have me do for you? Help us to see ourselves as we really are, rather than as we imagine ourselves to be. At this moment in time, it's an essential piece to finding your way into the next chapter. Help us to see ourselves as we really are again. And so in a very few minutes, you're going to be given a survey and asked to fill it out. And I would just beg you to treat this survey not as a bothersome bit of bureaucracy that you have to do, but to treat it as an offering to God. Treat it as an act of worship. Treat it as though it is your answer when Jesus is asking you, what is it you would have me do